Still think the Netherlands is weak? Then you've been reading the map wrong, because when most people picture the Netherlands, they don't picture a military problem. They picture bikes, canals, people commuting in the rain like it's a personality trait. It feels quiet, organized, peaceful in that almost boring way that makes you stop paying attention. And that's the mistake. This country didn't become dangerous by acting loud. It became dangerous by embedding itself so deeply into NATO's warfighting system that separating the two no longer makes sense. Most people think strength shows up as size. The Netherlands built it as access. And once you see how fast that access turns into force, the joke stops being funny. Not later, immediately. People usually start with the wrong question. They ask how big the Dutch military is. That question misses the point entirely, because the Netherlands doesn't exist to fight alone. It exists to make NATO work, and nowhere is that clearer than in the air. Netherlands operates one of the most quietly lethal air forces in Europe. Not because it has numbers, but because every aircraft it flies is designed to plug straight into alliance strike planning. The Dutch F-35s aren't symbolic purchases. They're fully operational, fully integrated, and trained for the kind of missions most countries never talk about out loud. Those jets are certified for NATO's nuclear sharing role. That means Dutch pilots flying Dutch aircraft are part of the alliance's nuclear deterrent structure. No national warheads, no independent arsenal, still a seat at the table where escalation actually matters. That single fact alone should change how you read the country, because nuclear deterrence isn't given to states NATO thinks are harmless. It's given to states NATO trusts under pressure. And that Air Force doesn't operate in isolation. Dutch Apaches aren't parade hardware. They're built for high-intensity combat alongside allied ground forces. Chinooks aren't logistical afterthoughts. They exist to move forces fast across European battle space when time starts collapsing. And that Air Force doesn't operate in isolation. Dutch Apaches aren't parade hardware. They're built for high-intensity combat alongside allied ground forces. Chinooks aren't logistical afterthoughts. They exist to move forces fast across European battle space when time starts collapsing. MQ-9 Reapers aren't flown for prestige. They extend Dutch awareness far beyond national borders, feeding intelligence into a shared picture that other NATO states rely on. The Netherlands doesn't try to dominate the sky. It tries to make sure NATO never loses it. And once that system is in place, the size of the country stops mattering. The same logic shows up at sea, where people underestimate the Netherlands even faster. The Dutch Navy doesn't patrol to look busy. It exists to reach farther than people expect. This is a fleet designed around quality, integration, and reach rather than presence, which is why its modernization choices are so telling. The Netherlands is bringing Tomahawk cruise missiles into its naval arsenal. That's not a defensive upgrade. That's a strategic one. Tomahawks don't exist to guard coastlines. They exist to hit targets deep inland, far from the ship that launched them. When a country that's small acquires a weapon with that range, it's making a very specific statement about how it expects wars to unfold. Not locally, systemically. Add submarines optimized for stealth and intelligence gathering, and suddenly the Dutch Navy isn't just watching sea lanes. It's shaping decisions before shots are fired. That's not weak state behavior. That's alliance-level warfare thinking. What makes this uncomfortable is that none of it looks dramatic. There's no chest-thumping doctrine, no oversized rhetoric, no obsession with military image. The Netherlands doesn't perform strength, it engineers it. That mindset comes from somewhere. This is a country that spent centuries turning vulnerability into advantage. Land below sea level, floodplains instead of mountains, exposure instead of depth. Rather than fight geography, the Dutch rewrote it. Water became a tool, infrastructure became a shield, engineering replaced intimidation. That mentality didn't disappear, it scaled. And when you zoom out one more level, the picture sharpens fast. The Netherlands isn't just a military node, it's a logistical one. The port of Rotterdam isn't a national asset in the usual sense, it's a structural artery for Europe. Shut it down and supply chains don't slow. They break. energy flows, food exports, industrial throughput, all of it funnels through a country most people still think of as small and harmless. That's why NATO planning treats Dutch territory less like a state and more like infrastructure. You don't defend it because it's symbolic. You defend it because losing it reshapes the entire system. This is where the assumption finally collapses. The Netherlands doesn't scare people because it doesn't need to. Its power isn't designed to intimidate directly. It's designed to make aggression expensive the moment it touches the alliance. That's a different kind of strength, one that doesn't show up in raw rankings, one that only becomes visible once pressure starts building. And by the time it's obvious, the outcome is already leaning in one direction. Before we go further, one quick thing. If you want breakdowns that don't just rank countries by size, that don't chase headlines, and that actually explain why some militaries matter more once pressure starts building, subscribe now. Because the Netherlands isn't misunderstood by accident, and once you see what comes next, it becomes very hard to unsee. This is where the misunderstanding really starts to fall apart. People ask how big the Dutch military is as if that number explains power on its own. It doesn't. On paper, the Netherlands fields around 44,000 active duty personnel, supported by reserves that push the total available force significantly higher in crisis conditions. That number looks modest if you expect strength to start with mass. But the Netherlands was never built to fight a solo war. It was built to make sure NATO never has to fight one piecemeal. That design choice changes everything. Dutch force structure isn't organized around national spectacle or independent dominance. It's organized around alliance timing, arriving early, integrating instantly, and staying useful when escalation compresses decision windows. That philosophy shows up most clearly in the air. The Royal Netherlands Air Force operates over 40 F-35A Lightning II fighters with more on order, and every one of them is configured from day one for alliance operations. These jets aren't held back for national contingencies or symbolic patrols. They're wired directly into NATO air policing, strike planning, and escalation management. Sensors don't stop at national borders. Targeting data doesn't wait for diplomatic clearance. Decisions move through shared networks faster than any single country could manage alone. That speed is the advantage. And there's another layer most people miss. Dutch F-35s are certified for NATO's nuclear sharing mission. That doesn't mean the Netherlands wants nuclear war. It means NATO trusts Dutch pilots, command structures, and political decision-making at the highest possible escalation tier. You don't get that role by being loud, you get it by being predictable under stress. The Air Force doesn't operate alone. The Netherlands fields around 28 AH-64 Apache attack helicopters configured for high-intensity combat alongside Allied ground forces. CH-47 Chinooks give Dutch planners the ability to move troops, equipment, and supplies rapidly across European terrain when time matters more than distance. None of this exists to look impressive in isolation. Every piece exists to remove friction inside the alliance. That's why counting jets misses the point. The Netherlands doesn't need to dominate the air by itself. It only needs to make sure NATO never loses control of it. The same logic carries straight into the sea. At first glance, the Dutch Navy looks modest. That's intentional. This isn't a fleet built around flag showing or coastal theater dominance. It's built around reach, endurance, and integration inside high-threat environments. Dutch frigates are designed to operate forward without constant external support. Submarines focus on intelligence collection, denial, and staying invisible when others are searching for noise. And then there's the upgrade that changes how you read the entire force. The Netherlands is integrating Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles into its naval arsenal. That's not a coastal defense decision. That's a long-range strategic choice. Tomahawks exist to strike targets hundreds of kilometers inland. They turn ships into tools of alliance-level pressure rather than local patrol assets. When a country this small adopts that capability, it's signaling something specific. It doesn't expect future conflicts to stay contained. It expects escalation to travel fast across distance and domains. This isn't accidental. For decades, the Netherlands has shaped itself into a connector state, a place where forces move through, synchronize, and multiply. Air bases matter because they launch more than Dutch aircraft. Ports matter because they move more than Dutch cargo. Command structures matter because they link decisions across borders. This is why size fails as a metric. The Netherlands isn't powerful because of what it owns. It's powerful because of what it enables. And once you understand that, the question changes. It's no longer how strong is the Netherlands. It becomes what happens to NATO if it's not there. That's where the leverage actually lives. This is the part most people never connect. They look at Dutch aircraft, they look at ships, they look at troop numbers, and they still miss the center of gravity because the Netherlands isn't just a military contributor. It's a logistics state disguised as a country, and logistics decide outcomes long before combat footage exists. Europe doesn't function as a set of isolated militaries, it functions as a flow. Fuel moves, food moves, equipment moves, forces move. A huge share of that movement runs through one place, the Netherlands. This isn't abstract importance, it's physical. The port of Rotterdam isn't just Europe's busiest harbor. It's the primary intake valve for the continent's economy and its military sustainment. Energy shipments, raw materials, industrial components, and military equipment arriving from overseas all converge there before dispersing outward. In a real crisis, that port doesn't just support Dutch forces, it supports everyone, which means defending the Netherlands isn't charity, it's self-preservation. That logic extends inland. Dutch rivers don't divide territory, they connect it. Rail networks don't terminate at borders, they accelerate movement across them. Airfields aren't isolated national assets, they're launch points for alliance operations. This is why planners don't treat the Netherlands like a peripheral state. They treat it like infrastructure. You don't win by bypassing it, you stall by losing access to it. And that's an uncomfortable position for any adversary to face. What makes this worse is how resilient the system is. Large parts of the Netherlands sit below sea level. Flooding was never theoretical here, it was existential. Survival meant engineering reality rather than wishing it away. Water became something to control, terrain became something to shape, infrastructure became layered, redundant, and hardened. That same mindset underpins modern Dutch resilience. Ports are protected, energy systems are reinforced, transport networks are designed for continuity under stress. This isn't a country that assumes stability, it's one that plans for disruption as a baseline condition. That preparation shows up in defense spending too. After decades of benefiting from peace without fully paying for it, the Netherlands has moved past the NATO 2% defense spending threshold, not as a gesture, but as a correction. And because the Dutch economy is highly productive, each percentage point buys disproportionate capability. Modern aircraft, long-range strike, high-end naval systems, cyber and unmanned integration. This isn't expansion for prestige, it's reinforcement for reliability. The Netherlands isn't trying to look powerful, it's trying to remain indispensable. Remove the Netherlands from NATO's equation and the alliance doesn't collapse, but it slows. Movement becomes harder, coordination becomes clumsier, escalation becomes riskier, and in modern war, slowing the system is often enough. That's why the Netherlands isn't a background country in European security, it's a load-bearing one. Everything you've seen so far only works if the system can scale. Most small countries build forces that function at one speed. Peace. Once pressure rises, those forces either stretch too thin or lock in place. The Netherlands planned for something else. Instead of betting everything on a fixed-size military, it built a structure that can grow without collapsing its command system. By this point, the label small and weak stops being inaccurate. It becomes dangerous because underestimating a country built like this doesn't just lead to bad analysis, it leads to bad decisions made too late against a system already moving faster than expected.